Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Rep Path Podcast. And as you can see, I'm not in my home base of Miami Beach. I'm up in New Jersey for the holiday, for Mother's Day, to see the family, which is great. But it's still, as you can tell by my outfit, I'm freezing my ass off again.
Suffering with the rest of us, Joe. Welcome.
It sucks. It can't just be cold but sunny. It's this gray shit that just doesn't end. But anyway, it's great to be back, guys. Had a great weekend. So thank you all for joining today. Today, we're going to talk about the VAC. All right. So a lot of you guys that are not in the industry, you're going to hear the term VAC, 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 VAC. What the hell is the VAC? Okay. And that's the Value Analysis Committee. So if any of you are getting into medical device sales and you're interested, or you're already in the industry and you're trying to figure out how the Value Analysis Committee works and what goes on behind the scenes there and how to approach them, we're going to talk about that today. So before we start, though, guys, as always, any questions, make sure you submit them into the chat. We'll address them about halfway through the show. For all of you, we say it every podcast, guys, the Rep Path Academy. Anyone struggling, if you've been trying to break into this industry for at least 2 months and you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, it's not you, guys. Everyone goes through this. It's not about getting a couple quick tips. Stop trying to reach out to people in the industry online and how did they break in. Those stuff, that's good anecdotal information. But if you really want to break in, join the Rep Path Academy, guys. You can see it here on the screen. Here's our website. Here's some of the statistics on how quickly we help other reps break in, the companies that we place with, and most importantly, those testimonials. Guys, read these testimonials, listen to these testimonials. These are candidates just like you that were struggling. They decided to join the Rep Path Academy, and we help them break in because we give you a process. We give you a strategy. It's not just, random throwing shit up against the wall, hoping that it sticks. We are going to teach you how to break in this very difficult industry. And we're also going to teach you how to be an outstanding medical sales rep. So go to reppath.com or shoot me a DM on LinkedIn so you can learn more about the Academy and we can get you signed up. Lastly, for any of you that want to see a copy of this recording or any other information and content that we post online, go to my YouTube channel, the Rep Path Academy. You can click the link below there. You could subscribe. It's 100% free, guys. So if you want to get all the up-to-date information, please join this. You see all the podcasts and all the other content that we have posted on there. Subscribe to the Rep Path Academy, guys, so you can continue to grow your sales skills and your abilities. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So the Value Analysis Committee, guys. Okay, so back in the day, I know a lot of you that when you're approaching a lot of these roles, you're thinking basically, I just have to sell to a physician. That's it. If I convince the doctor what to do, if I convince him on why my drug is so good or why my device is so great, that's it. They're the decision maker. They're the ones that are using these products in the operating room and in the hospitals. And that's just not the case, guys. So for any of you that haven't been in the hospital space, and if you want to get your experience in this space, if you want to get your device approved, you have to go through the Value Analysis Committee. It is not easy, guys. Okay, I just want to say that straight up. Not being negative, but if, like anything else, if it was easy, everybody would do it. These are not easy positions. These aren't things that just you snap your fingers because one doctor likes it. That's it. Your product's going to get approved and people are going to use it. And vice versa. You can't just walk into a hospital and think, wow, I got the greatest medical device ever invented. It could be. If it's not approved by the Value Analysis Committee, it's not going to be available for the doctors to use that product. So let's just dive right in. What is the Value Analysis Committee? Okay. So again, it could be called the VAC. You're going to hear that, VAC. So you hear the VAC committee all the time. You're going to hear about VAC. So basically, this is the group that's responsible for reviewing, approving, rejecting, standardizing all the products, devices, supplies, and services used for patient care throughout that hospital or hospital system. They don't care, guys, if the doctor likes it. Okay. That's one of the things you have to learn right off the bat. Just because the doctor likes it, it doesn't matter to the value analysis committee. There's so much more that needs to go in and more involved. So if you understand the way they think and what they're looking for, that's going to make you a much more effective medical sales rep to get your products approved. If you don't even know what they're looking for and the questions that they're asking themselves, guys, you're going to fall flat on your face. Because one of the things I hear all the time, well, I got this doctor, he loves my product. Guys, that doesn't mean shit to the committee. Okay, so some of the questions that they're looking for and things that you should be thinking and asking yourself, because that's going to help you better position your product. Number one, is it clinically necessary? Okay, if they have 5 of those products right now and yours does the same exact thing, it's going to be tough to get that approved, guys. 2, is it safer or better than something that we already use? That is key. So you have to show how it differentiates from all the other products that are available. Is there evidence to support this? You're going to need data, guys. You're going to need data. So this is one of the toughest obstacles for smaller companies when they come in and say, hey, Joe, just go sell this widget to this hospital. Oh, we don't have any studies. We don't have any data. We have nothing back in this. No one's used it yet. There's really no validation whatsoever from any other key opinion leaders. Guys, it's really hard to sell when you don't have that support, that evidence. They want the evidence. Number 4, what does it cost? Obviously, that's self-explanatory for any product being sold. And we're going to talk about the difference between price and cost, which there is a difference. Does it reduce costs somewhere else? Will it improve outcomes? One of the most important things. Will staff actually use it correctly? So you got to walk through that training process to get people up to speed, because most of these products, you can't just throw into a hospital system and say, well, they're doctors, they're smart. Nurses are smart. They'll figure it out. Like, no, guys, if it's a long training process, it's a pain in the ass to use, the hospital probably isn't going to approve it, even if it could do wonders. Because if it adds steps, if it adds personnel, these are all that adds to the overall cost. So that your product might only cost $50, but then if it adds all these, additional costs, trust me, they're not going to approve it. Does it fit in our current contracts? That's very important too. Right? Does it add complexity or inventory to the workflow? Like we talked about, does it add extra steps? And lastly, is it worth the disruption of changing? So a lot of times, guys, your data can show that it does have improvements, but is it enough? Is it really enough? If everyone else is showing that, say, a 95% efficacy, if you use whatever device, and this is showing a 97% efficacy, is it really enough for them to justify changing? Sometimes it's not. Okay, so I just want to give you guys, the understanding of what they're looking for. And then next we'll talk about, well, who makes up the VAC? Who is the Value Analysis Committee? So this is the tough part, guys. They don't wear VAC badges. They don't have like a star or some sort of check mark on their name tags, or they wear different caps or anything like that. Or when they are, if you are in front of a value analysis, a VAC member, they're not going to sit there and say, by the way, I'm a VAC member. I just want you to know. They don't want to be known. Okay. They know that if you know who they are, if all the sales reps know who they are, then it's just more people that are going to be coming up to them from different departments, different companies that are going to be trying to sell their products to them. So they, most of the time, keep it a secret until you're getting to that stage where, number one, someone does want your product to get approved, and now you start going through the process. So a lot of those times, they're not going to just give up this information. You're going to have to do your due diligence and really, put a lot of effort in to figure out who these members are, because it's not just physicians. It's not always the chief of the department. It could be different members. So it could be physicians. It could be nurses. It's members from supply chain, other value analysis professionals, finance, service line leaders, quality and patient safety control, infection prevention, biomed, IT, risk management. Members from all different departments actually make up the VAC. So once you do identify who some of these people are, that's great. Okay. Now, but more importantly, you need to understand, what does the VAC actually care about? They're not asking themselves, guys, is this product cool? They're not. Okay. Cool to them, that doesn't mean shit. All right. Knowing that this is a cool product, or it looks cool, sounds cool, it's sexy, you could do it remotely from another room, or, like a lot of the new robotic instruments, again, they're cool. And they could look at it themselves and say, yeah, I think that's really cool. But does that mean that they're going to prove it? No. So again, ask yourself these questions. I'm going to go over these. Some of these are going to be similar to what I talked about before, but these are very important. This is what they care about. We talked about outcomes. Does this improve patient outcomes? Does it reduce complications, readmissions, length of stay, waste, variation, labor burden? Is it reducing that? You have to make sure that it's doing some of these things. Or if you're constantly getting no's when you ask yourself these questions, that's a red flag, guys. Because if you can't answer these questions to yourself and they're not positive, then why would the hospital use this product? Okay. Is there clinical evidence strong enough? Is it better than what we already use? What is the total overall cost? Not just the unit price. Okay. Remember that. Guys, if your company is just saying we only cost, we're the same price as everyone else, we're $58.95, everyone else is $60.95. Yeah, but you have to do 2 more hours of work, and it adds X amount man hours to this case, or there's more products that need to be used, because there's some products out there that they don't come with in the full kit like the competition does, with the stylet or the different catheters or whatever it is that can be an introducer. There's all these different pieces of equipment that can come with one system and not in another. So now they have to buy extra parts for your system. I've been in these situations, guys. So it's the overall cost, not just the unit price. Okay. They're going to measure that. They're not stupid. They know that just because you're saying the box says $5 cheaper than the competition, they're going to figure out what is the overall cost. Okay, so you need to have those answers prepared. Is it already better than what we already use? Obviously, it's self-explanatory, guys. What will it disrupt workflow? Workflow is huge, especially on the clinical side. You're usually going to get pushback from nurses. Okay, so do not ignore people, guys. Don't just focus on the physician and think no one else matters. That's not the approach here. Not in the hospital space. You have a lot of different decision makers. And when it comes to workflow, trust me, the nursing team is going to care about that, because you're going to add these things in, and the doctor could love it. If that nursing team is not behind this and they get in that doctor's ear and say, no, we're going to have to do all these extra steps. And a lot of times it's misperceptions, because people don't spend enough time with the nursing team. So they're going to create these misperceptions, and that aren't true sometimes. But they're still good. The doctor's going to listen to them and go, all right, well, I'm fine with what we're using. I just thought this would be better, but I don't care that much. I'm not going to disrupt your workflow because I want to bring in a new product. And then they're going to wind up rejecting it. So make sure you need to understand the workflow. Does that change anything? And make sure whether it does or not, you have to make sure that you're having that transparent conversation with the nursing team. Can staff be trained easily? That's another big thing. I've worked on systems that, doctors thought they only had to do a couple cases. They weren't that proficient, and then you'd have to be there 10, 15, 20 cases to get them up to speed. Or you have to be there with the nursing team to show them how to put on a mask or whatever it is before any procedure. And if you're not there, they're not going to use it. So the training has to be a nice, seamless, easy training, organized, to get people up to speed. Because if they're not trained well, trust me, guys, they're not going to do anything to put a patient in jeopardy. If you're not there, they're going to just reach for a product that they know how to use. So you have to make sure the training has to be easy. Does it fit into our contracts and standardization process and goals? That's very important, guys, because if it doesn't, it's not going to be a fit. It's not going to be used. That's simple. Can we support it operationally? All right. So again, need to know what exactly this means, and does it need extra staff members? Is it putting new people in the room, different qualified people in the room? It all depends. So they're going to ask themselves, can they support this? And then at the one of the most important things, what risk does it reduce? Okay. So all these are very important questions, and there's more, guys, but I'm just trying to give you guys a quick sample of some of the questions that they're thinking about so you understand what they care about. So next, guys, like I talked about earlier, it's obviously getting a surgeon buy-in, getting that physician buy-in is key. Okay. But you got to realize where they are in this. There's many stakeholders in the alignment. Okay. So the surgeon's preference still matters, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. Okay. So some of the things to think about, guys, the surgeon can create that clinical urgency to get other, committee members to think about potentially approving this product. But you're going to have supply chain, right? And you got to wear different hats, guys. So you can't go in there with the same clinical approach thinking that everyone I talk to, let's just hammer this point home clinically. And once they all see that the clinical benefits, it's going to take off. No, guys, you got to wear a different hat depending on who your customer is. So again, we talk about surgeons. Yes, clinical, that's obviously going to be important to them. But when you're dealing with supply chain, they're evaluating cost, contracts, vendors, standardization. When you're talking to nurses, they're going to care about workflow, ease of use. Finance, they're evaluating the ROI and the impact on the budget. Infection prevention, they may evaluate safety and contamination risk. Sterile processing is evaluating cleaning, trays, turnover, complexity. Biomed is evaluating maintenance and device support. IT evaluates integration, cybersecurity, data. Risk management is evaluating liability and patient safety. And then lastly, executive leadership. They're evaluating the overall strategic fit. Does this make sense? Now, believe me, guys, there's that much input into some of these products. And you have to be able to think and pivot the conversation, not just about the physician. Practice, talk it through with yourself. What would happen if you're going to talk about, if you're in front of an infection prevention person? Is this going to affect contamination? If you're talking about a biomed, what kind of support would they have to provide? Risk management, the liability and patient safety. So you got to change the conversation and the focus depending on who you're speaking to. That's why you got to wear different hats. So important, guys. So one of the things that you have to be prepared for too, guys, this is not your typical sales call. Okay. You can't just have a brochure and a quote from, your champion, from your physician that's saying, I really love this product. We should use this product. Guys, that's only going to go so far. Okay. You need to build a strong business case. Okay. And what does that mean? What does a strong business case include? So your presentation, should include all these things. Your talking points, whatever you're going to do, should include all these things, because that's the only way you're going to be successful, guys. Number one, is there a clinical problem being solved? What is the current state and the pain points? Is there a need for this? Next, you need the evidence supporting this product. Do you have any studies? Do you have any trials? Do you have evaluation forms that were signed by physicians? And this is key, guys. Whenever you launch something, we'll talk about this. We have time later about trials. But one of the most important things that I've learned, you can't go by anecdotal evidence from physicians. When I've launched products, I'm not going to mention names or anything. Obviously, it's irrelevant. But bottom line is, when you're launching certain products, I made the mistake. Doctors tell me, Joe, oh my God, I loved it. I just used it on this case. Phenomenal. It's going so well. I did 5 cases this week. Another doc, oh, Joe, it saved me in this last case. There was an obese patient that had blah, 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 comorbidities. I used your product. It worked really well. Now I'm taking these anecdotals and thinking that that means anything. It doesn't, guys. If at the very least, whenever you're doing any cases with a physician, or if they're doing it, you need them to fill out and sign evaluation forms that really break down the points, the criteria to show the effectiveness of your product. If you don't have that, guys, anecdotal and brochures, those, the sales aids that they're giving you are not going to work. You need a strong business case. So let's keep talking about that. So we're talking about the evidence, talk about patient population or procedural volume affected. You need to be specific. Who is this product for? And you need to build a business case around that. How many patients suffer from this in that hospital or in that community? Is there a real need for this? So you really have to have that pinpointed. And it's also going to show them who is their ideal patient. Who is that person, that profile? You'll hear the ICP, the ideal customer profile. Everybody has them in every sales situation, guys. It's no different in medical. So you need to make sure that you have that specific patient type mapped out. Cost comparison. Again, not price comparison, cost. Cost is a big difference. Okay. So like I said, your price of your product might only be $50. But if you have to add all these different steps, you got to add personnel. You might only have part of the overall kit, but you have to use a different stylet or a different introducer or whatever it is. That adds to the overall cost. So you need to have a head-to-head cost comparison of your product and the competition. So important. What's the overall impact on the budget? Do they have the budget for this? Guys, if they don't have the budget, you can't just throw things in there. They're not going to approve it. So you need to give that impact. What's the impact on the workflow? Like we said before, there are more steps, more personnel. Need to know all this. The training plan, have to have that mapped out. Step by step, timeline, people involved, physicians involved, however that's going to look, you have it mapped out, the type of patients, everything. If you do throw it in there willy-nilly and think every time I'm going to try to see a couple of physicians this week, try to get a couple to use it next week. No, guys, you need this ironed out. If it takes you longer to get your evaluation started, I'd rather see that than trying to rush it in, because trust me, if it's not organized and you just are happy that you got a couple of cases today and you got a few physicians to try it, if it's not organized and set up correctly, you're going to fail 100% of the time. So take the time to get that training and an implementation strategy implemented first, and then, get after it. If you don't have it ready first, guys, trust me, you're going to fail with that. So please, please, please make sure you have the training plan in place. And what's the timeline? You need a realistic timeline, guys. Again, that's also going to help you when you're looking to push things to the next step, because you have impending dates that are coming that you have to hit these timelines to get the approval. It's going to motivate you. It's also going to motivate the hospital, because when you set this up the right way at the beginning and set up the expectations, they're more likely to follow this timeline that you're talking about, as opposed to just saying, well, we hopefully, as long as we get it done by the end of the year, like, guys, it doesn't work that way. So you need a very strict implementation timeline. It's going to help you and help the hospital by sticking to that and help you push things to the next step, whatever it has to be in the process. What's the risk mitigation plan? And lastly, the post-implementation success metrics. What is it going to mean after they implement this product? What should they see? What have other hospitals who have implemented this showing that strong data? I know we worked when we sold in cardiac robotic ablations, we had a phenomenal ROI that showed them once they implemented this product, they were able to do X amount more cases, because they're bringing in, all these patients with certain ailments that they typically couldn't treat and have to pass on to a different hospital, different physicians. Now the hospitals are able to do these certain procedures. So it's going to bring in more patients, more revenue, and it's going to trickle down, and being positives for the hospital. Okay. So again, Important, but we're going to come back to it. We talked about price and cost. Okay. This is one of the most important things for you to take away from this talk today. The price is what the hospital pays per unit. The cost includes everything connected to using, supporting, maintaining, and justifying that product. Okay. So what does that mean, Joe? What specifically is cost? Okay. And here's a list, guys. And it's a long list, and this isn't even everything. OR time, complication costs, readmissions, revision procedures, staff time, waste, inventory burden, sterilization costs, training time, expired product, case delays, length of stay, contract penalties, service costs, capital maintenance, IT support, device maintenance, storage space, reprocessing burden. Okay, so all these things, play an impact. So, if your product is more expensive, your job is to prove to the hospital where they get their money back. So, an example is, say a product costs $400 more, and it may be justified if it reduces the OR time, lowers complication risk, decreases waste, improves staff efficiency, or prevents an avoidable readmission. But the rep, it's your job as the rep to quantify the story. Okay. So you're going to get pushback all the time when it comes to price. They always want you to lower the price. And a lot of sales reps, and I was one of them too, always would go back to my company and be like, but they say if we lower an extra $50, we're $50 more than competition. And you want your company to at least match the competition because it's going to help you sell, right? Bullshit, guys. It never works. Dropping price never works. Now, I'm not sitting here saying if your product is 50 times more than the competition, lowering it's not going to help, of course. But if you can justify it, right? And when you're looking and thinking the right way, thinking about OR time, complication risk, waste, staff efficiency, all these things, and then you put that into your business plan, into your ROI, whatever it is, now you can justify because the cost is more important than the price. Don't get sucked in because your price of your product is more than the price of the competition. It's the overall cost. So that has to sink in after this topic today, guys. If that sinks in, you're going to be more effective selling to the VAC. Okay? So next, we're going to just touch on, I don't know if we have time for that. This is very important. I skipped over a topic because this is more important, guys. And that's anticipating the committee objections before they come to surface. Okay? So if you know some of the objections, you should know this ahead of time. It's like playing any sport. If you're playing football, I mean, our coaches always did an outstanding job of making us prepared in our game plan. Whenever we're in this offensive set, they're going to typically line up in this defensive set. How can we compete against that? How can we be effective? When they line up, we're on defense and they come out in a certain formation. We know they're going to run certain plays. So bottom line is we know how they're going to try to fight us. It's the same thing in medical. You need to understand what is the objections. What are they going to say? Don't think you're going to come out of training, guys, because a lot of us do. We get all fired up. Training was amazing. I learned so much shit. Our product is the best product in the world. I don't understand why every doctor doesn't use it. That's how I came out of every training class. And then you come out there and then you get punched in the gut because the doctors start asking different things that you weren't ready for. They start giving you these objections, and good companies, they do a good job of training this. So I'm not going to sit here and say that they didn't do that. But a lot of times in training, they are more positive than what the field and the reality than what really exists. So make sure you're understanding some of the common objections. You're always going to learn and always get hit out of left field with some random objection, guys. But the more that you prepare and really understand that it's not just presenting, but it's going to be handling a lot of these objections. So, some of the things, is it too expensive? We already have something similar. The evidence you presented is not strong enough. Only one physician actually wants this. You're going to hear that a lot, guys. I've heard that many times. I was so excited that my champion loves this product, but I have no one else. Okay. So I'm not saying you can't win with just one physician, but when you have multiple, it's much stronger. So when you have one, realize, don't look at it like it's such a strong positive. That's a great start, but they're going to say, we want more. We only have one. This is going to add another SKU. Staff will need more training. We're trying to standardize. We don't want to add variation. It's not in our budget. And then lastly, we tried this before and utilization was low. Okay, so think of some of these. There's many more that we can get into, but you want to make sure that you're prepared for some of these objections. So turn these objections into prep questions. How will we prove utilization? Who else supports this? Ask yourself these questions, guys. If you don't have the answers, you're not ready for the value analysis committee. You're not. And guys, this isn't something that you could just keep presenting. You could send a champion in there presenting month after month. You're going to probably get one shot at this. And if it fails, it's going to be a while. You better come back with a very strong game plan to get it approved the next time. Because they're not going to allow you to just keep presenting the same data. They're just not going to put you on the calendar, on the agenda. What is the biggest budget source? What existing product could this replace? Have that in mind. Can we reduce, if you're adding a SKU here, can we reduce SKUs elsewhere by having this product? What is our training plan? What metrics will we report after 90 days or 6 months or whatever it is for that, or that a month, however long the trial is? What is our implementation plan? Who's going to help with the troubleshooting? Who owns that on your team? And what is the contract pathway? Again, guys, these are just some of the questions, but you need to know the objections and then prep for them. Don't think they're not going to come. They are coming. Every single time the objections are coming, so you have to be prepared. But I'm going to pause right now, James. James, any questions from the crowd?
Yeah, Joe, we got a couple.
Let's see what we got today. We got Megan Hollis Carter. Joe, when you submit a product to a value analysis committee, are you typically including a side-by-side cost comparison or just the clinical data?
You want to include everything. So one of the things that you guys got to realize, number one, you're not presenting it. You are not going in the room with 12, 15 VAC members and going to sell your product. That doesn't happen. You're not allowed in that room. You need a champion. So a champion is a physician that loves your product, or someone within the hospital that loves your product that can present. So you need to make sure that they are loaded with all the information, data, support info, everything that they would need, studies, everything, to make sure that they're ready for all these objections. Guys, this is the tough part, because you got to train someone else, essentially. Now, as smart as these doctors are, this is not their top priority. All right. They got patients. They have a business to run. They have staff. They have their family, everything else that goes on in someone's life. Multiply it by 10 with a physician and what they're thinking about. So to give them, you have to reach a happy medium where you don't load them with an encyclopedia of information and say, by the way, if anything comes up, all the answers are here, or, I'm going to train you the next 6 months so you know all this information and you can present. Obviously, that's ridiculous. But you need to give them enough information to make them have enough clinical data to back up what they're saying. Because by them saying, I really like this product, that doesn't mean shit. You need the data. You need the support evidence. You need enough where it could be effective and it's enough for them to present it, but not too much where they can't handle it all. So again, to answer your question, the more the better. You need all that info, but you need to make sure that your champion is well-versed and can handle all this information. And it's easy for them to present because they're not another sales rep. They have a million things going on. They don't have the time to learn this like you've learned it. They're never going to be as good as you at selling this product. That's just a fact. Never. Okay. Now, they could be more relatable because they're a physician and bring up different talking points that you wouldn't think of and make them more effective, but they're not going to be able to put the time in that you did. So just be cognizant of that it's a happy medium where you got to give them enough information, but not too much where you overload them.
Tabitha Green Hall. When a chief of surgery wants your product, but the VAC keeps stalling, how do you push without burning bridges?
Well, I mean, you got to figure out from that doctor, who else can we get to create more noise? If you have always one physician is great, but if you can get more that support this, that can get things on the agenda. You also need to find out too, is that a smoke screen or is that real? Because a lot of time doctors will say, oh no, I couldn't present, and you're finding out that they weren't just prepared or they forgot about it, which brings up another good point. Guys, timing is everything. If you think you're going to talk to your doctor, load them with all this information, whoever your champion is, and then the VAC committee meeting is until next month or for 2 weeks from now, trust me, they're going to forget. I want you guys to all realize that. If you're not in there the morning of or the day before, evaluating, making sure that everything is set up, that they have all the information, they don't have any questions for you, that they know the time, that you'll be here anyway in the morning if anything comes up. And you want to make sure that they are fully prepared and it's fresh in their mind. Because anytime that they're saying that different challenges came up, sometimes it's real, guys, but a lot of times it's not. They're smoke screens. So you need to figure that out first. And is there anything else you can help that physician do to prepare or help them to help move and expedite this? Because a lot of times when you ask the physician, is there anyone else I can go to, anyone else I can talk to? What else can I do? A lot of times the physician, if they know it's on them, they're going to say, no, that's okay. You don't have to do that. I'm going to make sure of this or I'll make sure of that. So you just want to make sure, is that a real challenge that they're having and you can help solve it? Or is it something that they're just not that sold on it or they forgot about something? You need to figure that out first.
Mia takes photos 9902. What's the move when the committee asks for outcome data that you don't have yet?
Well, I mean, you just got to be transparent. There's nothing you can do there. If you don't have the data, you got to be working on it. You got to give some sort of follow-up. If you have no data and you have no plans on getting it, it's going to be very tough, guys, to get that approved, and being honest. You need to be working on something. You need to be saying, well, I do have a trial going on at XYZ hospital. It should be done by next month where I can get you that data, or it should be here in a couple of weeks. But you have to be working on data. I mean, if your company isn't working on any type of proof source, any kind of documentation, there's no studies, nothing, you're in for a losing battle. So at least you got to be transparent. If you don't have data, you can't make up data, but if they're asking for certain data and you're supposed to have it, and then the next month comes and they put you on the agenda again and you don't have it again, guys, you're only going to get a certain amount of chances before they say, forget this product. So you have to be transparent. And also your company has to be working on something, and just give them a timeline. That's a realistic timeline, because if you're going to come back again and you're still not going to have data, that you don't want to burn bridges, guys, because I'd rather, for me, in a leadership position, I'd rather have the company wait the extra month or two so we have all our ducks in a row before we go in front of them again, as opposed to thinking, no, we could squeeze this through, or no, the executive team really wants us to get this done this week. Guys, that doesn't work. The company's agenda doesn't trump the hospital's agenda. They're not going to care. So you're better off setting expectations both with your company and making sure you're relaying that to the customer. And then if you got to wait, I'd rather have you wait than go in there and then stumble and fumble it, and you're never going to get another shot anyway.
We got V runs miles. How do you get a surgeon champion if you've never even sold to that service line before?
How do you get a surgeon champion if you never sold to that service line before? I mean, the simple answer is people do this every day. So whether you sold in that service line before or not, you got to own your own development, man. This is what we always teach at the academy. It's always about own your own. We always go through that slogan. And what does that mean? That means you're doing whatever it takes to get ahead and get your knowledge up on whatever subject, topic, whatever it is. You don't wait for someone to give it to you. Okay. So if you never sold, I've never sold I never had experience in everything I've done in my life. You have to go out there and do it, guys. Everyone's the same. There's been one time where a doctor has done his first case, so just like them, you have to figure it out, but you have to prepare like you've done this a million times. So if you have to observe other cases, if you have to read up on certain material, watch YouTube videos, I don't care what it is, speak to people that are key opinion leaders, speak to individuals that have the experience, learn from them, do whatever it is to prepare yourself in that new space, and you're going to be successful. But you can't wing it, guys. You can't say, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm just going to get punched and just go with it. No, you want to prepare as best you can, because the more that you do that, the more polished you're going to look in that presentation. And that doesn't matter what it is. It's not about selling in a therapeutic area. You could be selling cars. You could be selling, I don't care, payroll, anything. And if the more that you're prepared, the better off you're going to look in that presentation. So if it's something you haven't done before, prepare even harder, prepare even longer. Make sure that you uncover, like we talked about, some of the common objections. Make sure that you know that these are coming. What are you going to say? Role play. We do this all the time at the academy. We role play not only in interview scenarios, but we're role playing in sales scenarios. This is how we make you a better candidate. This is how we also make you a better sales rep. You got to role play and play this out with your manager or any other team members. So the more you practice, guys, the more you prepare, the better you're going to be.
Grego Coffee. What's the dumbest reason you've seen a product get rejected?
Because you weren't, well, I don't know if it's the dumbest reason, but it's a very common reason. The doctor is not as prepared as you think the doctor is. And that's on you. So a lot of times when I first started, this is also very similar to the P&T committee. That's when you're trying to get a drug approved. So that's the Pharmacy and Therapeutics Committee. It's very similar to the VAC. Basically, you need a champion too, but you're talking about a drug instead of a device. And I overloaded this physician with too much information, and I didn't time it out right. I gave him all this information weeks before the meeting, and the doctor, he made this excuse. I forgot what it was. Something about how he wasn't able to present all the material. They didn't give him much time. And then when I talked it over with him, because I had an older rep who's experienced in this, and kind of testing him in a nice way, and then you could tell he wasn't prepared. So my gut is he never even presented it because I gave him too much, and I wasn't there making sure that he was comfortable in the main areas that I knew that they were going to question him on. So it was more on one of the most common things, and you could say it's a dumb thing. It's assuming that your doctors know and care about this as much as you do. I think that's the big takeaway. They don't. If you left that territory with your product and never came back, the doctor's not going to quit and retire because your product's not available. They're going to use something else. They're good at this, guys. They use many products. Sometimes products aren't on the shelves. They know how to use it. It's like, James, you love pizza. Your favorite pizzeria closes down. You're not going to stop eating pizza. You're just going to order someone else. It's just that simple. They're doing the same shit. Of course, I didn't make it, I had to come up with something better, but I just thought a pizza with you. But
well, if it's outside of New Jersey pizza, then there's probably, maybe if we're lucky, one good pizza spot, but that's only outside of New Jersey.
Who's your favorite pizza spot in New Jersey?
Lately,
I got mine. It's not even close.
Lately, I like Angeloni's is pretty good.
Excellent. Thinny Thin.
Thinny Thin. The Columbia Inn in Montville is really good.
I actually never been there. But
It's really good. And then I just had one recently. I just tried a new spot that's really good. I forget what it's called. But yeah, probably Angeloni's right now.
Angeloni's is up there for me. My favorite is Reservoir.
Where's that?
Reservoir Pizza in South Orange, right on South Orange Avenue before you get to Seton Hall. It is the best pie, hands down. I don't care where. But
Go check it out.
Oh, get the sausage. You like sausage. Get the sausage.
Actually, I take that back. There's a new spot in Montville. It's called Third Proof Pizza. And they make their dough with sourdough. And it is, they do a New Haven. So that's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I love it. Well, I could talk about this all day, but I got to try.
We could do a whole show on just pizza.
Actually, that's going to be Wednesday's show. It's just going to be top pizzas in New Jersey.
We're gonna send some doctors, some clients, clogged arteries.
But the whole point, guys, is I lost my train of thought. But it's whatever, they're going to figure it out. They're going to be able to use something else. So don't think that your drug or your device is that important to them. Make sure that they're up to speed in what you're selling, what they're going to have to present, and make sure you do it in a timely manner, and make sure they're prepared the day of or the day before, because that's going to set you up for success. So that's the dumbest stuff that I've seen. Excuse me.
JP Climbs, what's your read on hospitals using AI to score vendor submissions now?
What's your read on? Say that again.
Hospitals using AI to score vendor submissions now.
I mean, I know AI is every possible topic involves AI these days. I don't really have much experience with that. I don't know who does about scoring vendor submissions. I don't think that's going to really impact. The value analysis committee is going to pop something into AI that's going to shoot out there. I mean, there's got to be real data. So unless they're coming out with something that just came out with recently that they're submitting into this new scoring AI systems that are doing the evaluations, I mean, that's definitely news to me. I don't think AI has hit the approval sector yet. You know, the VAC committee, I don't think they're going to need hard data. They're going to need an actual champion coming in to fight for whatever. There's so much more into it. I don't think a score that's shot out, it might get you on the agenda, more quicker if you get a high score. But at the end of the day, that's not going to get you approved. There's the presentation, all the scrutiny that goes into this with cost and the effects on different departments and caseload and all that stuff is going to come into play. And I don't know anything that's that advanced, any kind of scoring system that's that advanced that a hospital is going to go, yeah, we're just going to go by this score. And if it scores high, we're going with them. And if it doesn't, we're not. No. So unfortunately, I don't have enough info or experience with that because I just don't hear any of the companies or hospitals using this right now.
Well, I'll tell you, Joe, I use a lot of AI, and if it's not there yet, it's coming.
Of course.
It's coming.
Everything's coming.
It's coming.
Right now, it's just not something.
Yeah.
It's not there yet.
It's definitely something that I'm sure that there's companies working on. Hannon Llewellyn, how do you approach a VAC at a religiously affiliated hospital that has its own ethics review?
Well, excuse me. I mean, that's a great question, but it brings up the bigger point that every hospital is different. Every VAC committee is different. The process is going to be different at every account. Some might have some similarities, some not. I mean, one of the things I'll tell you, it's going to be different members. You're going to find different members, different doctor names, different nurses, different, administration personnel, find people from finance. So you have to approach it differently. Each one has to be approached differently. So you have to find out whatever religious affiliation that they have. Okay, so how does this change the process? Why does this make this different because they're a religious affiliation? And then you have to, navigate those different waters that you're in now. But you need to know all that information first. I can't just say, oh yeah, if it has a religious affiliation, it's going to do this or that. No, you need to know what it is first and then come up with a game plan depending on how that changes your approach. But each one is going to be different. So it's too hard of a question to answer to say, yeah, just because they're religiously affiliated, you should do blah, blah, blah. You need to find out what that is first, what affiliation it is, and how you're going to navigate those waters.
Ben Lake with a bunch of A's. How do reps get info on what's actually on the VAC agenda before the meeting?
That you got to find out from your champion. I mean, this comes with relationships, guys. When you're in these hospitals a while, when you start to build these relationships, and you know who the VAC committee's members are, or at least who the members are in your department that you call on, you get that relationship and you find out ahead of time. And that's basically the only way you're going to find out. It's not going to be posted somewhere. They don't make this known. You need to have that relationship to find out, exactly, are you on the agenda? Number one, what is the agenda? What does that look like? And it's only through that relationship that you're really going to be able to get that info. There is no secret. I'm sure people have probably snuck into rooms or did things they weren't supposed to get that agenda. Excuse me, but excuse me. It's really going to come down to that relationship. So whoever you have that champion is, I would start with them to find out exactly what the agenda is going to be. What does it look like? And that's basically the only way that I know of.
Fishing with Dale. Is there any point in sending a packet without a champion already lined up?
No. That's simple. No. Don't waste your time. You're literally, you might as well. It's like when reps go into accounts, the doctor doesn't see them, and then they leave a detail aid behind. I mean, this is something that years ago, all managers would want you to leave some sort of lead behind. Again, I'm not saying leave behinds don't make sense, but if you think you're going to leave a packet that a doctor is going to read later, that's unlikely. Could happen. Sometimes doctors do respond and say, hey, by the way, I've read about this. Can you come in and give me more information? But for a VAC meeting, just leaving a packet without someone posting this, I mean, you're wasting the promotional material, whatever material. So I'm not saying don't ever do that. You're going to screw up, but I just think it's a waste of time. So I would never do it without a champion.
Soph in Seattle, do most committees actually look at peer-reviewed studies or just go off of price?
No, they're going to evaluate everything. It's going to be price. It's going to be the peer review studies, any data. They want all the information. Give them as much information, present it in a well-organized, easy-to-follow manner. That's the key. Take all that info. I mean, that's why, let's be real, we're talking about AI. And for instance, ChatGPT. ChatGPT, you guys see when you're putting a search in, you see it searching all the different, proof sources or whatever it's searching, sites, and then it simplifies it with one answer. I mean, that's essentially what you're doing. You're getting all the information to give them a simple presentation that they can present, that champion can present. If you're not doing that and just giving them all the data, they got to cipher through it. It's never going to happen. So, I mean, that's the best way I can think about that.
I got Cole Westergaard. How are health systems balancing physician preference autonomy against enterprise standardization pressure inside a VAC process today?
Say that again. That was a mouthful. Sorry.
It's a mouthful for me to read. How are health systems balancing physician preference autonomy against enterprise standardization pressure inside the VAC process today?
Well, I mean, so you're basically saying how are they processing the approval based on a doctor's preference? And the doctor's preferences are important, but they have to have the proof. They need the proof sources. It goes back to, I like this. I really like this product. No one cares. That's great, doc. It's great that you like it. You have to tell me why we should approve it. And by you liking it doesn't mean anything. And it goes back to those questions. Is this going to reduce cost? is this going to improve patient outcomes? So the doctor's got to be presenting it that way. They could say, I prefer this product, not because I really like it. I prefer it because it's going to reduce costs by 20%. It's going to improve patient outcomes in all these different disease states. And then they're more factual and have more evidence-based. Then they're going to go with what the doctor's preferences. But they don't go with their preferences just based on, I like this. They go on it by the proof. So, I mean, that's basically a simple way to answer that longer question. But that's basically it. They have the proof. That's more important. And that trumps all the, I really like this product or it's cool and all that.
I got Brendan Salzgaber. I guess I butcher everybody's name. I'm the worst. How do you advise reps to position multi-year capital purchases when the committee is benchmarking against a shorter ROI window?
How do you advise reps to say that again? I'm sorry.
Position multi-year capital purchases when the committee is benchmarking against shorter ROI windows.
Multi-year. I mean, you really got to take one step at a time. I mean, you can't think so far about multi-year capital purchases. You got to get the product approved first. The multi-year capital purchases, the things that are like a long relationship commitment with any buyer, you need the proof. You need to get it in and get it utilized. So one of the things that people, many reps fail with, they get a product approved and they do a shit job in driving utilization. So we all feel great when a company says, hey, Joe, your product's approved. We're going to put a first order in, and supply chain calls you and they put in the first bulk order. You're all excited. And then 6 months down the line, they haven't placed another order. Why? What's going on? I thought it was approved. I thought that was the easy part. No, you did a terrible job driving utilization. Now, I've done this with products in anesthesia. Again, some accounts have 60, 70 anesthesiologists. Just because 3 love my product, that's not going to drive the utilization. I have to work my ass off to get, I'm not going to get all 60, but I need more than 3. And then you got to take that approach. How do I keep driving utilization? That's where you see the purchases really expand. Once it's really known, then you can worry about those multiple year, driving those capital purchases and everything else. But you need to drive utilization first. Your product has to get approved. And once it's approved, how can you really drive that utilization so they're going to continue to purchase?
All right, I got one more for you today, Joe. Crystal Tanaka, she wants to know, what's the biggest mistake new reps make when they're prepping their first VAC packet?
Again, they need to get enough information that covers, look at those questions that we talked about, review some of those, review some of the objections. Are the proof sources in there if that does come up? And making sure that your champion is comfortable with the material. Okay. If you give them the encyclopedia and say, all you got to do, everything's in here, it's not going to work, guys. Got to make sure that even when you hand them a study, okay, this is important, guys. Need to show them where in the study, where to go to, what's the important part of this 10-page study, what's the document, the paragraph, or what's the important table or graph that they should go to in there. It's not presenting the whole study. It's getting to the meat of it. You need to show them that. All that is very important, but you got to simplify it. So making sure you give them enough information, but in a simplified manner that they can present it. They're not going to practice this for weeks, guys. They're going to prep a little bit, know the material, and then get out and present. So you need to make sure it's enough, but it's concise enough and easy enough for them to present.
That's all I got today. And actually, I have a couple people that said they started the episode halfway through. So if you want to watch the replay, make sure you go to youtube.com and check out the replay over there.
Yes, please go on the Rep Path Academy, sign up, subscribe, guys. It's free. You'll get a copy of this and everything else we produce. Again, guys, RepPath Academy. Reach out, go to reppath.com or shoot me a DM so we can get you signed up. Lastly, anybody that is a lobby member, when you do reach out to me, submit the promo code Licata. You can see it there at the bottom of the screen. You send that in, and then we'll be able to get you additional discounts. But I want to thank you, James. Thank you for, obviously always doing a great job handling all the questions, and also for you guys listening, submitting them. I really appreciate it. We'll be doing these every Monday and Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So if I don't talk to you guys, I'll see you Wednesday at 3 p.m. Have a great day.